Hello and welcome to another masterclass session hosted by the Economic Times and Lenovo. IT4SMB is the campaign where the focus of this masterclass session is to empower small and medium enterprises to get on to their growth journeys, to use technology to their advantage to fasten the process of future growth, and also to ensure that there are limited to no downsides as they go ahead in the current business environment, which is getting more competitive as we speak. The first session of the masterclass took place about a fortnight ago, and today, like last time, we have two speakers, both young entrepreneurs who will share their journeys as far as how technology empowered them to become a leader in their space, and also highlight and declutter how technology is now an essential component of business environment, whether it is for small enterprises or for large corporations. Small enterprises, of course, face dual challenges. Not only do they have to compete with large corporations in a very competitive business climate, they also have tighter budgets. They don't have the same amount of resources that large corporations have when it comes to technology. So how can they bridge these gaps? How can they ensure that they continue to remain competitive and get technology that is customized for them at a price that is competitive to be able to solve their specific business questions and business concerns? That's exactly what this masterclass session is all about. The first speaker is Mr. Harsh Parekh, who is the co-founder of API Holdings, who will talk about how business transformation can take place through technology, and he will focus on upscaling and rescaling, both of which are very essential parts of how businesses grow going forward. Essentially, Mr. Parekh will try and simplify for our viewers watching this is how is it that businesses can scale up, and how is it that they can revisit their existing operations to keep them in tandem with the prevailing market conditions. The kind of cost efficiencies that companies can get and derive as a consequence of implementation of technology solutions, and also the overhauling that is needed as far as existing legacy systems are concerned. How is it that technology can be a key driver for business growth going forward is what Mr. Parekh will be focused on. And upscaling and both rescaling are now essentially two sides of any tricky business situation and business decisions that companies have to take irrespective of their size. So that's exactly what Mr. Parekh will be speaking on. Mr. Parekh is the co-founder and whole-time director of API Holdings, India's largest digital health platform. And the group has businesses and brands like PharmEasy, Retalio, and ThyroCare. It is also the first health tech unicorn, which recently created history by acquiring the listed company ThyroCare. Mr. Parekh has both a BTech as well as an MBA under his belt. He started his entrepreneurial journey fairly young, and it's been over a decade already. And his company has about $2 billion of GMV and is backed by some marquee investors like Naspers and Temasek and Tiger Global as well. Mr. Parekh, thank you so much for taking the time out and joining us on this session. I am Gauri Dwivedi, Senior Editor with the Economic Times, and you are in conversation with about 200 odd SMBs who want to hear and understand how is it that technology can be a key driver for businesses to grow from here on, especially in a post-COVID era where technology plays that much more of a role. Over to you.
Thank you, Gauri. I think as the context has been already said that technology is a key growth driver, I would like to emphasize this by giving and sharing few of the examples, both of our journey as well as the examples outside in the market. So when we started this, we today proudly claim that we work with almost 1 lakh plus retail pharmacies, who in my opinion are the bread butter of the Indian healthcare industry. So any value chain, if we look at, typically moves, I think, has 3 to 4 key stakeholders. And from that perspective, the product industry usually goes from manufacturer to trader to retailer to customer. I think in India, retailer is at the heart of it. And if we are able to help these SMBs grow and compete in today's environment, I think that's where the differentiation will come. Similar problem statement for traders. Today, the Indian pharmaceutical industry has 80,000 plus SMBs, out of which we work with almost 10,000 plus, and we've been able to transform them by using technology. And I'm sure apart from healthcare, this problem statement is exactly the same in Kirana, in other industries where traders and retailers make the bulk of SMB. If you just, I think there's one slide we today have almost 75 million SMEs, and they contribute to 36% of India's economy. I think this is a large part and the heart of the economy. And as our finance minister said, if India is to reach a 5 trillion economy, these guys are going to be the single largest driver contributor to this. So moving on to the value chain example, right? Now let's look at any normal retailer today. His biggest challenge are threefold. How does he grow his business? How does he reduce cost? And how does he ensure customer loyalty when he's competing with online pharmacies, online players, large mom and pop stores? It can be something as simple as having an app or a tool to reach out to his customers. ERP or an inventory management at the Kirana or at the pharmacy will help him ensure cost efficiency. And there are so many low-cost solutions available out there in the market. We provide few of them, but we've seen this digitization journey, especially in the post-COVID era, where in today's time and age, people want to coexist with the online world. So if there is a Kirana guy staying in Jammu, he can list himself on Swiggy. He can in fact list himself on Amazon, as well as have an app which he can give to his customers. There are a bunch of enough online tools available. I think what needs to happen is better awareness, better training, and in a way where we are able to talk their language. I think that is a key. The challenge in a vast country like India is every 200 kilometers, the nuances change. If we are able to go local, if we are able to connect in a way which they understand, I think it's a win-win. The best example of that has been UPI, where today everyone and anyone has been able to work with UPI platforms. You go to a chai wala, you go to a shopkeeper, he's adopted technology and he's seen the benefit of it. And I think that's where the digitization and the technology transformation will happen. To add to that, I think the next big wave here is ONDC, which the government is working on. And I think with that, the power of any retailer, any industry, it can be a jewelry shopkeeper in Jaipur, it can be a clothes store, any guy who has a physical touch point, according to me, needs to do three things. Have a short digital presence, have ability to ensure customer loyalty and customer retention, use a technology or a tool, it can be an ERP, to manage his operation. All of this can be done in a cost which is less than 10,000 rupees, right? Depending on which sector or which industry you are. Moving on to the second stakeholder, which is the trader, which is again a very interesting community. I think bulk of it does wholesaling, distribution, trading. Now here, the challenges are he gives credit to most of his retailers. There are people he employs. He's competing with the likes of organized players like JioMart, Udan, Big Basket, all of the e-pharmacy guys who's wanting to get into B2B space. How does he compete there? I think here he needs to ensure that there is technology available. When I say technology, something as simple as sales tracking, One use case which we've solved brilliantly is collection management. Now, collection management historically in India has been a big problem. Because you take money, if it's in cash, you don't know whether the guy collecting the money will deposit it into your store or not. So right from the point of time where the collection happens, digital receipt creation to collection to receivable management, which is something as simple as aging to getting into complex reminders, alerts, all of this can be easily solved through a simple solution based. Today, most of the time, energy goes on either there's a call center person doing manual reconciliation of invoices, doing manual reminders. The owner himself is spending a bunch of time in working and ensuring collection cap. And that, I think, is the single most bottleneck for his growth. Second, with the new age fintechs out there, there are a bunch of innovative solutions from a financial solution perspective, which can help him grow. So I think it's more about the mindset. The solutions are again available. The third category is a manufacturer, where I would want to touch base upon how large corporations have evolved and changed. Right, there are examples like pharma companies who are now using new age platforms to ensure that the schemes and the incentives go directly to the retailer. So historically, if a Nation Paints or a Hindustan Unilever is running a trade program, the ability for him to even give any scheme out to his network, the cost of doing that, the cost of reimbursement, and ensuring it goes to the right person was not there. Now today, something as simple as that can be easily done on the click of one button, with the finance and the business team in these large organizations having the ability to comprehend that and create a win-win situation of customer loyalty, sales growth, and 100% transparency. So suddenly, when there were three players in between, now you have the manufacturer directly speaking to the retailer about all the schemes, all the incentives, and giving it directly based on the performance of that unit, that retailer. Similarly, large corporations have now started using AI in a big way. I think ChatGPT is all around there. All of us use Swiggy, Zomato, something as simple as that. The chat is powered by AI. And then large corporations are also using them for supply chain efficiency. Right? Supply chain is now far more predictable. You can do inventory management. You can do far more forecasting. Work backward with your suppliers in a far more integrated way. Work forward with your channel partners in a far more integrated way. So take any industry, I think all the stakeholders are now thinking of aligning, realigning, and at the root of it, I think technology can no longer be a department in an organization, be it a small SMB or be it a large organization. It has to be at the heart of everything you do. So if you're a small SMB, right from the time you onboard your customer, in fact, how you reach out to your customer, to the way you onboard your customer, to the way you create the customer experience, be it the product delivery or the service delivery, to the way you kind of run your operation. Technology has to be at the core of it, right? So erstwhile, maybe you had people who were doing everything manually. Now, if you go to any good industry, I think, let's take the example of auto. Everything now is digitized. It's a complex industry. If you're a dealer in automobiles, it's far more complex. The spare parts, now you have a digital catalog. You can reach out to your customers digitally. All your inventory can be digitized. You can manage that. You can manage your receivables. So right from your sales to your procurement, to your operations, to your finance, which are, according to me, the four fundamentals of any business, every process is integrated. And at the heart of it is people, and people need to live and breathe this. This cannot happen without everyone being aligned that technology is at the heart of it. I think a lot of startups today have disrupted the old players, not because they have done something dramatically different in innovation. I think it's because they have built the business on first principle basis of being technology driven and not looking at technology as a support function, but as a core of every single function, be it sales, be it procurement, be it operations, be it marketing, be it HR, right? I think how do you now work with your workforce, how do you engage with your workforce in large organizations becomes equally important from a tech perspective. And I think what does all of these entail to? This means that you need to constantly upscale your processes, right? All of the examples I have mentioned, and I can go on and on the examples, but all of the options which I have explained can only happen by upscaling, as well as redesigning few of your flows. So when we today promise customers a 4-hour delivery in pharma, I think for us, that meant that our warehouses are fully integrated. They are speaking to the consumer platform or the consumer app. There's a real-time visibility of inventory. So as soon as the customer places an order, it goes to our backend. The backend processes the order, which runs in a fully automated warehouse, as well as then picks, packs, dispatches it. You have full visibility of it. Sitting at your home, you get that medicine delivered. So numerous such examples. And most important in all of this, I think, is change management. And are there enough solutions available? Yes. How do we need to make people aware? I think we need to keep constantly looking out, ensuring these tools are available to the industry. We in the pharma industry run a forum which is Retailer Seva Kendra, where we kind of educate retailers on all of these new age tools, new age technologies. But the most important, I think, is change management. And that will only come when all your stakeholders, which includes employees, customers, suppliers, are aligned to genuinely believing technology is the way to go. If your customer is not keen on using digital, how do you ensure there's a mixture of physical plus digital? If your supplier is not keen on using digital, how you help him onboard in all of these processes? And most important, employees and team members, right? So this is the key of the technology transformation which we've been speaking of. I will pause here and open the discussion for any Q&A.
Thank you for giving us that exhaustive overview, Mr. Parekh. And questions have been coming in. As I said, there are about over 200 registrations, and several questions are very pertinent to what we are discussing right now. Mr. Rahul Nigam has said that how is it that SMBs can really compete with corporates? That's essentially, it's also a business strategy question, but then technology is at the backbone of this competition.
So I think, as I always keep telling everyone, I think in today's time, it is about coexistence. I think even large organizations and SMBs both need to realize that there is enough scope for people to coexist. I'll give you a classic example. I think today, if you look at Zomato and Swiggy, a lot of people thought they will disrupt the industry. Yes, they have disrupted. But what they've also done is they've empowered a lot of small hotels, a lot of small shops to embrace technology. So I think the moment we stop thinking of large corporations as out there to only compete, there is no player who can do everything on its own. It will require the coexistence of SMB. At what leg, at what involvement is a function of the industry. But across the industry, a lot of people have tried it. I think even when Flipkart, Amazon came in, people said offline will die. I think the reality today is offline sales continue to grow. And in fact, they work collaboratively with most of these sellers, and an offline SMB, maybe in Meerut, has now the opportunity to even supply to people in Chennai, which historically would have not been possible. So the moment the mindset changes from competition to coexistence, and no player can do this alone. The best of even the large corporations, be it like a Reliance, also are looking at new age companies for collaboration, right? So any and every company out there is looking at collaboration. I think that's the way forward for both SMBs as well as large corporations.
Very important question that's coming from Mr. Sameer TV is that what about rescaling? Rescaling is also now a very essential part of how you survive and thrive in a business scenario. You know, maybe it could be a new product line that you've entered that you feel that you need to scale back on. It could be tough decisions around layoffs, or, you know, a new geography that you want to revisit. All those are rescaling questions. How is it that technology can provide solutions in a far more efficient manner?
I think that's a good question. I think what ends up happening in rescaling decisions is people take emotional decisions, or people take decisions based on gut. I think when you have data and technology, which geography to shut down, which team to look at from a productivity perspective, even if it's a small SMB, I'm sure there are enough tools, something as simple as a productivity tool to measure your employees. And at a macro level, at a business level, any decision you are taking from a rescale perspective, I think there are three ways to look at it. One is, what is the data looking at? Is there a better way of running that operations, which is far more leaner? So you spoke of new product line or a new geography. Is there a cost efficient way of doing it? And third, is there a way to outsource few of that to people who can do it better? So a lot of time, I think in SMBs, people tend to do everything on their own. So you will have your own manufacturing plant, you will have your own last mile, you will have everything in-house, because that's the way Indian entrepreneurs work and operate historically. But it makes sense at times to rely on technology and work with few of these large players and outsource few of the non-core things. That can be one way of rescaling it in a far more efficient way. So it is the need of the hour. Anyone and everyone out there, be it a large organization or small, I think the macro is tough. But the good part is, I think the Indian economy is far more resilient to survive this as compared to global economies. But if you are not going to take the tough decisions today, you will regret them in the future. So it's important to take the decisions today and take it through a tech and a data-based approach rather than being emotional about it.
Specifically, Mr. Deepak Itkar has asked that what are the kind of tech solutions that really can help small companies grow? Because there is also a sense of resistance among small enterprises when it comes to technology. It's still not a buzzword, so to say. It's considered as something that more large corporations need. You mentioned that, you know, small companies tend to do everything on their own. And you know, the resistance to not adopting technology probably stems from that mindset and that attitude. What are the kind of technological solutions that small companies can adopt for their growth journeys?
Sure. Something as simple as I said, ERP solution, which is the heart of it, where you do inventory management, accounting, and there are a bunch of low-cost solution players out there. Something as simple as ensuring apps, you know, for your customer, for your own internal team. Again, these are low-cost, sub 10,000 rupees solutions. I don't want to name those right now on this forum, but if you just Google it online for your own industry, there are a bunch of solutions available. More importantly, I think when you're choosing the solution provider, what is important is what is the support system? Because I think a lot of challenge also comes from the fear of unknown. So if the solution provider is going to be remote and there's not going to be a local support, yes, it will be a challenging situation. But there are so many local entrepreneurs, so many local players who are providing local support and local solutions, which will help the onboarding be far more easier, right? I think the resistance also comes from the fact that, how do I do a digital onboarding or a digital technology adoption when I have not met that person in physical? I think for as SMB owners, if you can get that from a local solution, great. If not, at least have a virtual one-on-one training session when you are onboarding. So all of these doubts, questions can be catered to there, and the training and the onboarding process has to be smooth. So whenever you're selecting your solution provider, I think most of the solutions are good, but the differentiation happens in the onboarding training, and the after-sales support and service. I think those are two critical aspects one needs to keep in mind when onboarding your vendor or onboarding your technology solution provider.
Okay, as we get in more questions, Harsh, this is something that I've been thinking for a while now, ever since we've been talking about SMBs and their technological adoption. Is cost still a big barrier, or is it just a problem of mindset and attitude?
So yes, I think if you look at it from a traditional way perspective, people might say, oh, 10,000 rupees, 50,000 rupees is too much. But if you look at 12 months, that's 4,000 rupees. Maybe that's the amount you would spend on your tea and coffee if you're running a decent business, right? So there are low-cost solutions available. I think it's more a mindset issue. And also, I think what ends up happening, unfortunately, and a few technology companies are to be blamed, is lack of transparency. So you buy a low-cost solution, then they will charge you extra for some upgrade, then they will keep charging you for some other service. So I think that is when the SMBs get a lot of discomfort, right? I think most of the SMBs use Tally, which is a brilliant example of people being able to use technology. Why? It's been low cost, it's been simple, feature driven, and there are numerous such examples out there, right? UPI, I believe, is the biggest example. That Paytm box or the sound box is not a cheap device. It costs 250 rupees per month, but the retailers or the traders are using it, right? People are willing to spend because it's solving a problem. So if there's a problem being solved, I think people are now open as compared to what it was earlier. But for that, it is important for the technology companies also to equally be transparent, not be penny wise, pound foolish in terms of having not being transparent. Right? You can have subscription plans, you can have pay as per use. I think software as a service as a concept is still nascent in the country. And I think which is where technology companies need to have two different strategies. It might work brilliantly for large enterprise, but SaaS as a model for SMBs, maybe you will need to tweak that, look at it at a fixed cost and an AMC model. I think what worked globally might not work in this country. And I think if that changes, the SMBs, are they willing to spend? I'm sure they are willing to spend if you are able to converse in a language which they understand. So as an example, I was referring to in my presentation, today when we go to a distributor, we tell him, look, the cost of an agent doing collection for you is 15,000 rupees per month. You're spending 1,80,000. Here is what I'm giving you a solution, which is for 50,000. There's a straight benefit. He's one of the smartest guys out there, I think. India runs on SMBs. I think they are the smartest entrepreneurs, far more smarter than founders like us. I think a lot of stuff to be learned from them. But you need to converse in their language, right? If you converse in their language, I think they will see the benefit of it and they will pay for it, irrespective of the cost of it.
Indeed, they are smart entrepreneurs and really powering the Indian economy as we speak. Shailesh Kumar Singh is asking that what is the right mix of IT spend when compared to business revenue? And how do companies address the challenge of IT spend versus business value? That's a fundamental question when it comes to technology expenses. How do you gauge that this is the amount by which I recover and get some value?
So again, it's a function of what your margin stack is, but as a thumb rule, I think anywhere between 4 to 5% is a decent spend. But again, if you're in a low cost margin, you'll have to optimize that to 0.5%. If you're a trader / retailer, I think 0.5 to 1% beyond that won't make sense. If you're a manufacturer, I think the problem statement is slightly different. You can look at 4 to 5%. But I think the other way to also look at it is, what is the incremental revenue that is bringing? What is the customer retention it is bringing? So one is, of course, a direct cost benefit analysis, which yes, definitely you should do from a cost rationalization perspective. But in today's time and age, I think it's also about survival. If you are not going to be changing with time, let's give a simple example. As a consumer, if you walk into a store which is state of the art, speaks to you, once you walked out, sends you a thank you message, WhatsApps you, I think your experience is going to be far more superior. as compared to someone who's not going to be doing any technology change. So I think it's also about survival. So those days of saying we do not want to do are over. I think we need to change. What change, what budget? Yes, as I laid out the range for different industries, I think that's the range, at least what historically we've seen across various sectors and various companies.
Mr. Dipinder Singh has asked a very valid question and a recurring concern that data security, cyber security is still a big worry for many companies. And can they really rely on technology? Because if large corporations still don't have solutions, how much can SMBs be resilient when it comes to cyber attacks? So how prudent it is to have technology as the backbone for growth?
So look, yes, is that a real problem? I would say definitely. I think cybersecurity is a concern across, be it a large organization, SMB, but more than enough, I think stuff is being created. But is it 100% foolproof? I don't think so. In a technology world, anything is 100% foolproof. But the counter to that is, in a traditional world also, you always have the risk of someone stealing that information, be it your employee or be it someone else. You cannot, if you want to grow, I think you will have to live with the perils of cybersecurity. But at a fundamental level, if you're able to compartmentalize, you are able to ensure that information and access control is there. You are able to work with good, trusted technology partners who will ensure cyber protection, who will not, and which is where you will need to pay that extra, right? So a lot of times, I think the delta might be a 10% delta between what you pay for a premium offering versus a low cost offering, but it is an insurance over and above that. And I think with time, models are evolving. The government is working closely to ensure all the servers are located in the country, information inflow is there in the country. I think will there be 1 or 2% of issues? I think it happens even today. The same question was raised when UPI came in. In fact, that was money. And people said, oh, someone will steal your money from the bank account and take it away. I think, are scams happening even today? Maybe they are, but people are much more aware of what the scams are. And I think a lot of that is also to do with how you are going to run your operations in terms of access control, information sharing, the architecture of the technology solution, which any good local technology solution provider will also be able to ensure that that is well protected.
Muralidharan is asking, what about innovation? How important is innovation for smaller companies? You know, it is very crucial for large companies, but is innovation that much of a priority even for SMBs? Because the more you innovate, the more you'll also need to spend on your overall technology infrastructure and apparatus.
Look, I think we have to think of this as an investment. Innovation, without innovation, even the large or the small guys have been able to not been able to succeed, right? So I think while we can claim that Flipkart and Amazon were not able to change offline, but the offline guys who survived were the guys who innovated with time. So most of them today now have a digital catalog, have a WhatsApp, and I think we misuse the word technology at times. Technology is something as simple as WhatsApp, right? Even that is technology today. There is WhatsApp payments. We at times try to complicate it by using jargons and by using terminologies. But without innovation, I think history has shown us, be it an SMB, be it a large player, you cannot survive. And the innovation, as I said, can be something as simple as accepting digital payments. Right, I think there is still so much rigidity around digital payments, digital ordering. It need not be, no one's expecting you to create the next big billion-dollar idea out from innovation. That happens, great. But as SMBs, you need to at least be aligned with the changing times, aligned with the changing structures, and work from there to ensure that innovation is a constant process. It can be internal in your systems, in your policies, or it can be external.
We stopped there, Mr. Parekh. Thank you so much for taking out the time. And there are more questions. Unfortunately, there is only that much time, but a very exhaustive session indeed, as far as how much can technology help companies when it comes to upscaling and rescaling? Now, moving on to the other segment as far as this masterclass session is concerned, we have with us Mr. Yash Jain, founder and CEO of Nimbus Post, who will talk about what really are the kind of changes that businesses witness when they adopt technology, kind of lessons that companies can provide who've undertaken customized tech upgrades, as well as the long-term changes and improvements that it has resulted in. Affordable technology solutions do lead to lower costs, whether it's OPEX or even CAPEX on a long-term basis. What are those benefits? What are those changes? And how is it that it helps companies in the long term who end up freeing crucial funds from OPEX onto some important business operations? Those are some of the areas that Mr. Yash Jain will highlight in this segment of the masterclass session. Mr. Jain founded Nimbus Post, which is the third largest tech-enabled logistics platform in 2018. He's one of the young entrepreneurs in the country and started at the age of 25. He's the driving force behind the tech and business operations at Nimbus Post, which is an end-to-end logistics operation company, which provides logistics support at very economical prices. Before that, he founded NationCart, an export-focused e-commerce SaaS product, and is a self-taught and serial entrepreneur who started with 1 lakh rupees as seed capital. Mr. Jain, thank you so much for joining us. Over to you now to take us through how is it that businesses can derive the kind of efficiencies that we envisage, and also how is it that this will empower them to compete with some of the larger corporations in their space.
Thanks, Gauri. Thanks for a wonderful introduction. Like it's pretty amazing to be on a platform today. So I'll start with as we're talking about the technology and the impact of technology into the business. So this is one of my favorite subject or favorite topic to speak about. So I'll start with a quick introduction of what we do, how we build, and what I do. So I come from a tech background, and this is my, you could say, this is my third startup. So I started up at a very early stage, and being a tech founder, I have worked always into the SaaS space and technology space specifically. And I've seen the tech space for SMBs and enterprise, I work with both, you could say, hands on hands. There are a couple of years where I've worked with bigger brands and enterprises, as well as now I've been working with all, you could say, early stage startups and SMBs specifically. So I'll just even share my screen to, yeah. So technologies if I talk about the e-commerce, segment or e-commerce as a business, the way the market is growing, the way entire ecosystem is growing, you will see there's a huge role of technology into the e-com space. Or either you could say the e-com, the entire retail ecosystem of India is, you could say, completely transforming, and all possible because of everything is going from you could say physical to digital. So you could say that there's a transformation, or there's a journey that's been happening in India today. You could say where all physical brands, offline brands are being moving towards, you could say, digital first approach, or at least they don't want to ignore digital as a channel. And you could say this has happened post COVID. Because of COVID, there's a huge shift that has been the shift was happening since years ago, but it has been accelerated because of COVID specifically. So post COVID, if you see the transition of brands going from physical to digital, that's been massively huge. And there's a huge, you could say, demand for, you could say, the platforms like us and others who are enablers, technology enablers, or e-commerce platforms. So if I talk about you could say, the Indian e-commerce market size and the way it's growing, if you see the current market size is around $74 billion, which is for 2022. And if you see the trend in the next couple of years, it's going to be, you could say, it's projected by 2030, it's going to be 350, which is huge. If you see the way the entire e-commerce market is growing, you could say the pace e-commerce market is growing, there will be huge shift from, you could say, physical retail to, you could say, digital. And while this transformation happens, while this market has been growing, like this cannot happen without technology, because like all the physical brands who are being selling physically or offline will go towards transmission. They will need a lot of e-commerce tech tools, system, process, and you could say a lot of things from industry to make it happen, because digital is not that easy. It's not that easy that anybody can do or everybody can do specifically. So and there's a huge role of, you could say, tech that's going to be play out here, where like it will be like how do you go and, you could say, digitalize your business. That involves like you could be selling on your own store, or you could be selling on marketplaces. You could be exporting on different marketplaces. You could be selling on, let's say, a Shopify stores of a branded store. You could be selling on Amazon and let's say Flipkart and Mintras of the world. You could be maybe selling on eBay, Amazon Global. So anywhere you sell, you will need an entire, you could say, you need to be handy with the tech stack. You'll need an entire, you could say, cataloging system, like digitalizing your catalog, right from like shoot to description to like further listing out. And there has been a lot of innovation that's been happening out. So with like things like with like Chat GPT, OpenAI, the things that were done manually have been huge. You could say there's a huge transformation that's been seen in the industry, which has been like going towards automation. Even the editing of pictures, which was manual, has been now. You could say there have been a lot of tools of Chat GPT, OpenAI, which makes it easy for anybody to, you could say, operate, or anybody to, like, you could say, transform specifically. So right from cataloging, then when you go ahead, start selling, when you list out on different marketplaces, you'll need a different tech space, or you could say you'll need a lot of tools, which we call as a multi-channel management tool or multi-channel marketplace tool to manage your different marketplaces. So if you see the entire journey, right from like going from physical to digital, there's a huge tech play that's going to be shortly like out there. Coming down to the segment, like this is a quick view on like we see how the market is. If you see the top consumer categories, what's been contributing. So you could say like consumer electronics is one of the largest one. Then there is apparels, food, jewelry, grocery, furniture, and other. So like if you see the demand of the way consumer electronics has been growing aggressively, the fashion has been growing aggressively. So like this is a trend what we see into the, you could say, market. And if you see the Indian smartphone shipment, you could say the second trend in that's been very important is like before, like you launch a store, you sell on web portal, that was fine. But now, while we have seen like almost for any big or smaller brand, their 90, 95%, 97% of a contribution is from, you could say, mobile devices. So you need to be like future ready. You need to be mobile ready. If you're SME or enterprise looking to scale and acquire customer base in India for your e-commerce business, you need to be mobile ready, and you need to be, you could say, ready for the mobile first versions. Next is like if you see the so I come from a logistics background even, so I'll keep this session more focused towards e-commerce and also the fulfillment and logistics of how does the entire ecosystem works in India, and how does technology play role in the, you could say, logistics as a model for e-commerce business. So if you see the 3PL market in India, that's been even, you could say, it's been around $250 billion. Then this includes traditional 3PL even, not just in, you could say, the e-commerce. But this is even looking to grow very aggressively, specifically, but not compared to like as per the e-commerce growth. But if you see like the initiatives that's been happening in India, so I've been writing a lot of articles about the PM Gati Shakti. The way PM Gati Shakti is coming up, the way it's been, you could say the plans are like to, you could say, integrate more than 16 corridors or 17 corridors. That includes your air, rail, and you could say sea, and all other, you could say, infrastructure integration. And then you have a state level integration. So the way entire PM Gati Shakti project is being planned up, that's going to be, you could say, that's going to be huge and bring down this, like the cost of GDP, like the current in India, the cost of GDP for logistics is 13 to 14%, which is projected to come down to around 88.5%. And that's one of the factor. This will be one of the largest booster for e-commerce business in India. If your logistics costs get down by, you could say, a couple of percentage, there will be huge impact on like people shopping more online compared to like people going to the physical store, because it's more cheap, it's more fast, it's more convenient. So with PM Gati Shakti, the problems you solve is like, one, it will be cheaper. Second, it will be faster. The interstate transaction is going to be very fast. So let's say a shipment from Delhi to Bangalore is going through surface. It goes through multiple states, multiple documentation. The TAT that's been achieved out there, you would have faster TATs basically. And like you would have faster TAT, faster deliveries, cheaper deliveries. So what I believe is the way Indian logistics infrastructure is getting built up, or you could say the way it's been, the way even government is investing in logistics infrastructure, there's going to be a huge impact in, you could say, e-commerce business, because with e-commerce, it's majorly dependent on how does the logistics work, or like how does your fulfillment and, you could say, shipping works specifically. So there's a key ecosystem. Like when we talk about technology, I always wish to put up all key ecosystem like at one place. So if you see like this is the key ecosystem. So talk about e-commerce channel. Shopify is the most popular in India. If you are running a self-store, right, from Shopify, WooCommerce, you could say there are products like OpenCart, BigCommerce. If you go to marketplaces, there's majorly Amazon, Flipkart, eBay. eBay is not much popular, but like, yes, if you do for domestic, there's Meesho and Ajio and Myntra and other marketplaces. The social commerce is majorly powered towards Facebook and Instagram. And like then there is like courier partners. There's a lot of 3PL partners which exist in India. They are payment gateway partners specifically. So this is a key, you could say, a quick roadmap to like how does our entire e-commerce ecosystem looks like. So now, like if you're a SMB, if you're jump starting your business, or so like, or you could be at a certain scale, what you need to realize is you need to work with almost you could say 10 or 15 ecosystem partners. You would have a storefront partner. You would install a lot of apps and application to like power those storefront. You'd be selling on marketplace. You'll need to like something like a multi-channel management tool like Unicommerce, Brown Tape, and like Vinculum, which helps you with the entire marketplace order management. Once you go with start working with 3PLs, you need a platform like us who could give you a single point integration for entire 3PL ecosystem. Then you'll need a payment gateway partners to accept payments. Then there are furthermore like their checkout partners. There are platforms like GoQuick and others who enable you a faster checkout or a faster TAT. So if you see a US ecosystem of how things are being placed in US, so even the small section like even refund management is huge in US. They are $1 billion startups who just take care of your refund management. They're $1 billion startups who takes care of your checkout. They're $1 billion startup who just take care of your notifications or post order, you could say, journey of for somebody who's running a Shopify store. So the way entire journey has been like the tech plays, you could say, the every pillar of your business. There's an ecosystem partner. There's an ecosystem. You could say tech ecosystem. What you need to go and what you need to utilize specifically. So if I talk about the logistics entire ecosystem, so this is how like the ecosystem looks like. There are a lot of logistics partners in India. There's a lot of fulfillment partners in India. Before this, like the traditional, how does the traditional fulfillment like works? So I'll just talk about the pain points. What are the industry pain points? What an e-commerce seller or e-commerce business have, and how technologies, you could say, play a role in terms of helping those pain points. So the couple of pain points are like the first is like high shipping rates. So always like when you go digital, when you go start selling into e-commerce, you're not restricted to regions. You're not restricted to borders. You cannot say I will sell only in my Delhi NCR, or I'll say only in my state, or I'll say only in my basically specific geographies and not specific geographies. So you're open. So like the high shipping rates always like is a concern where you need to see what are the strategies or how you could use tech to distribute your inventory, to, you could say, distribute your inventory, segregate your business, and how you can use, you could say, tech to bring down this cost always low, because the supply chain cost is one of the largest header, which contributes almost 20 to 25 to 30% for a lot of e-commerce business. You need an entire dependency on, you need a lot of partners, you need a quicker cash flow, you need like end-to-end fulfillment and tracking ecosystem. Basically, you have like you need lack of API, high returns, you need a price comparison, you could say, different, you need to choose which partner to go, which not to go, basically. So I'll just come like what Indian e-commerce, or like what people are looking to do. So while there is Amazon and Myntras and you could say Flipkart, who have a huge infrastructure, they have big FCs, they have big, you could say, solutions, which you could say can categorize as enterprises. And if I come out to the SMBs, you could say a small D2C brand selling on Instagram, selling on like you could say any other channel. What they look is like the trend is like how you can give the FBA like customer experience to your customer, basically. So if it's not fast in India, it's not like, you could say, I would rather prefer to go and buy same product on Amazon versus buying from somebody's directly. The reason is like it's not fast. It's not as fast as like how it should be. So now the way entire logistics ecosystem in India has been moving towards is like that's been like how they can give the FBA like experience. And that's been, you could say, this is one of the case study which happens with tech. So this is how the legacy e-commerce fulfillment center works specifically, where you have a central warehouse, you have a line haul, then you do have like delivery centers, and the delivery takes 4 to 5 days, you could say, altogether. But like the way with, you could say, with tech, with like a lot of tech ecosystem that's been coming up, the way it's been transformed is like you have a distributed inventory now. So let's say if instead of having a central warehouse in, let's say, Manesar and Gurgaon, what I do is like I have multiple fulfillment centers in Mumbai, Kolkata, Bangalore, or you could say Delhi, and I distribute my inventories, you could say, across multiple channels or multiple cities, and I pick up and I ship and I do a complete solution where like it's been mapped with the nearest you could say fulfillment center what's been available, basically. So what this does is this increase your TAT. You can give your customers the FBA like experience even at the cheaper cost, and you can reduce your cost, because when you see the zone metrics, when you see the comparison of like your shipment going from one city to other, you could say it's always cheaper to ship from near rather than different zones. So now the concern or the challenge I see is how is that possible? Like as a SMBs, you cannot invest in tech stacks, you cannot invest in, you could say, infrastructure on setting up warehouses. So like the solution is like there are a lot of SaaS players that's been come up into the space. So right from the entire ecosystem of, let's say, using a storefront, building a storefront, there's a Shopify which you could say work as a SaaS platform. You can build your store in 2 days. Then like coming down to the fulfillment, there are a lot of SaaS companies, V does it. Then there are other fulfillment experts, like there are companies like Prozo, WhereIQ, and other, which are the modern, you could say, modern SaaS-based fulfillment centers. So they do not charge you infrastructure to set up. If you come to us, or if you come to anybody, we will not say, okay, you want a warehouse, okay, this is the size you need to take, and this is the space you need to take, and this is the investment you need to do, basically, and then we're going to put up your product and do it. There are modern SaaS companies who does it on a variable model. Let's say you ship in 100 shipments, you'll be charged for 100 shipments. You ship out the 80, you'll be charged for 80. So like, and it's been, they're modern, you could say, WMS system, which does this distributed inventory, or you could say entire, you could say, inventory distribution, and like allocation of this inventory distribution specifically. So what has happened is like the way tech is like the way entire tech ecosystem is being moved, or the tech ecosystem is being going, is like there are a lot of SaaS players that's been coming for SMBs, and like which doesn't have any one-time cost, setup cost, that doesn't need to set up any CapEx, OpEx, anything specifically. and you have a freedom to, like, you could say, focus on your business side, not your supply chain side, not your, you could say, tech side, not your integration side. So if you see the ecosystem there, you could say you would be there are SaaS platforms for everything that's been come up in India. And all these are global players, which has been replicated in India, or they're global platforms, which have like came to India specifically. So for SMBs, like, so I believe like the way tech is transforming, the way SaaS players are coming in India, even for SMBs, it's not like tough to scale, or it's not like there are solutions which have been available to like scale up for SMBs even specifically. So I'll just stop sharing, and I'll pick up a couple of more pointers towards like about the industry, or like I'm open, like Gaur, if you want to move ahead to Q&A.
Sure, yes. That was a very detailed overview of the e-commerce sector and the kind of changes it's going through, especially with regards to the Gati Shakti project that is underway, and how it's likely to transform probably in the next couple of years. And logistics is still about 14% in terms of Indian businesses. It's much lower in some of the other Asian countries, as low as 8%. So the effort should be to go down to single digits. The sooner we do, the better it will be for the economy in terms of bringing down costs. Some questions are pertinent that have come in, and some a little less relevant to the discussion. And I'm going to read out questions that ask for perfect business strategy for new product launches. We're going to stay away from those questions that are coming in. But in terms of when you talk about technology as a leveler between an enterprise and a small company, a medium-sized company, what do you think are the kind of challenges that SMBs face? And also, what, according to you, are the first set of customized technology solutions that SMBs can undertake to create some sort of a level playing field with their larger counterparts?
Sure. See, one of the good thing about this, so I'd like to be very specific. Is like when you see e-commerce as an industry, e-commerce is something like, you could say, if you see the Indian market today, it's been setting up, it's been growing. So if you compare SMB versus enterprise, you'd be shocked to see that both of them are using the same tools or the same infrastructure today. The reason is because like the e-commerce is pretty new in India, although it's old, but like it's the way it's been developing. Before it was initially it was more marketplace first. Now it's more D2C first. Now the brands who sells more on their website are being valued more compared to the brands who sells on like marketplace. They are being more valued, and they are being, you could say, more you could say funded or more recognized. So if you are an e-commerce brand, and if you go to any VC, and the first thing they see is what is your distribution of your own website versus what you sell on marketplace. Because with marketplaces, there's always a risk. Like, okay, today you are being doing X numbers. Tomorrow, maybe like marketplace can come with their own private label, or there could be some other brand who could overlap you in marketplace very quickly. So do you have your own customers or not? So like the approach is like the D2C marketplace or the D2C ecosystem in India has been building, you could say. So now, even if it's a 1,000 crore D2C brand in India, or even it's somebody who's starting with at 10 orders or 100 orders a day, the technology is affordable to everybody. There are so much SaaS platform, SaaS tools, SaaS solution that's been available, which solves the same problem for enterprise and for SME, basically. So the good thing is like if you see in this industry, if I talk about the e-commerce industry, the tool or the things what you have access to is something a 1,000 crore brand would have the same tool, and you would have the same tool basically. Now coming down to the next part is like, how does like what are the best practices tool? How do you see the ecosystem? So as I shared, like to plug up an entire journey, you would need 10-15 segments. The journey starts from building a storefront. There are tools like Shopify. You use Shopify, you can build your store in a couple of days and go live. Then next is like when you go and look to sell on marketplaces. If you're looking to sell your products on marketplaces, Like you will need you can use tools like Unicommerce, Vinculum, and others, which does a multi-channel integration. And all these tools, what I've been talking about is Shopify is even there for somebody who has 10 orders a day, and it's even there. It's being used by somebody who does 1 lakh orders a day or 1,000 orders a day globally. So all these tools are, like you could say, accessible to even affordable, even for SMEs as well as enterprise. So like the journey goes ahead. Like if you need shipping, you can go and work with the 3PLs directly, but it's tough for young brands. Then there are platforms like us, ShipRocket and Picker, who does a single window solution basically. So we give you one solution where you get entire shipping at you could say one platform. So you don't need to go to 20 platforms directly. They are fulfillment partners. So basically, you go for fulfillment, you go for shipping. The approach is, do not invest in any capex, opex. Invest in, you could say, setting fulfillment centers. Invest in building team. The best way, the leanest way for an e-commerce business to grow in India is you outsource everything. There are hundreds of SMEs. You could say there are for every small vertical. There are a lot of SaaS players. There are a lot of, like you could say, small and mid-sized tech players who works on a variable model. So it doesn't hurt your pocket. And what you can do is you can focus on your real business. So all the D2C founders I've been working with or I've been talking to, they don't want to own like headache. They don't want to own operations. They don't want to you could say take care of their inventories. They don't want to take care of their buying. They want somebody, okay, like outsource this to this, this to this, this to this, this to this, and focus on the core business, what they want to do. So that's one of the best model, like you can that's been happening in India. So as a brand, as an e-commerce seller, as a SMB, you can build your business on a variable model, SaaS, by using SaaS solutions, and that too you can scale on a very asset-like model.
So technology is indeed a great leveler when it comes to small companies and their ability to compete with much larger companies in the same space. So technology is a great leveler. I think that's a key takeaway for all those who are tuned in to this masterclass right now, who heard the earlier session and now, which is that how technology can really empower them to compete very successfully with their large counterparts in the same space. The other question that's coming in is, Yash, around the fact that what are the kind of immediate learnings that you envisage for companies that do undertake tech upgrades? And is it essential to undertake any large technological overhauls in one go, or should SMBs prioritize one area at a time, one small expense at a time, than a major overhaul, which could be extremely cost inefficient as well?
Sure. So if I talk about the e-commerce industry, the market, the way business are like things, you will find a new upgrade every weekend. You could say it's like today something is there. After a week, you'll find, okay, there's a new tool that solves this even, and there was a tool that was only solving one problem, and there's something else which solves 4 problems basically. So what I believe is, like, as a merchant, if you really want to success in a business, keep upgrading. The more fast you upgrade, the better you you be top of the race basically. So always, like I suggest, is if in this industry, the good thing is the tech is not expensive. It doesn't cost too much. It doesn't cost, you could say, heavy setup costs. It doesn't cost, everything is SaaS plug and play. So if you have everything SaaS plug and play, it hardly takes me 2 minutes or 5 minutes or like half an hour to switch from one platform to the platform for anything that I've been using up. So what I suggest is, like, to be like on the top of the race, the businesses should look like what are the new things that's been available, upgrade as fast as possible. If you are finding that, okay, that there's a new technology or new platform which is giving you which is solving your 4 extra problem, that could be either impacting your cost or could be impacting your manpower. The beauty about SaaS is, like, you can plug and play entire ecosystem, you could say, within a couple of hours. You don't need to be have a big team who will do the migration, take a call whether to migrate or not. So with young businesses, with SMBs, I believe you should keep your tech stack very lean, switch and move as fast as possible. Go for the new tech stacks, go for the new solutions, what you get, and you experiment and scale. That's been the approach. What I see has been, you could say, the best approach, like for anybody who's looking to build e-commerce or D2C or a young startup specifically?
Final question as we wrap up this session, which is that what about the intangibles? Access to credit, being able to hire better, being able to sell better. Those are intangibles. How does technology help small companies in such intangible areas, which are also very important for running a successful business? Access to credit is a very fundamental aspect of being able to run a successful enterprise. Does technology help in these areas as well? And what has been your experience?
Sure. See, like if you say about access to credit and other like if you talk about the talent, that surely depends on the business owner. But like the way how it's been operating or how it's been shifting is, if I talk about the e-commerce space, so like there have been a lot of, you could say, fintech that's been come up where we call as a revenue-based financing. So you do extra revenue, you take funding, and you net off that revenues from the payment gateways or the cash on deliveries what you receive. And although this are heavier in interest rate, but like I've seen a lot of D2C founders going for revenue-based financing because it's easy. It's like you can get capital without much securities. There's no security. It's unsecured capital what you get into. So the way the entire market is growing, the ecosystem is growing, there have been access to capital, and all this are even coming with the tech, you could say. So there are a lot of fintech, integrated fintech. So that will integrate with your revenue stream. And that's going to create an auto escrow. They will plug out their EMIs and they will give you the working capital, what you need. So like while you could say things are being coming on a tech stack or a centralized stack, and for digital business, there's a good evolve towards access to money. And that's been even, you could say, coming up with new age fintech startups and new age, you could say, revenue financing models specifically. Next is about the talent. Like talent has been one of the good thing about building e-commerce businesses. You don't need too many people. And like so the way entire remote working have you could say we have learned to work remotely basically. So I've met a lot of founders, HTC big brand owners who still run remote teams. So like access to talent is like it's a blessing from COVID. Like everybody have learned to work remotely, and like we have access to bigger talent pool what you could have, like rather than like restricting it to one city or two city where you are based out of, what I believe.
All right, Yash, we leave it there. Thank you so much for taking out the time and addressing this session, which focused on several aspects as far as how technology can empower small and medium businesses. Thank you so much for taking out the time. And on that note, I now bring in Sanjay Sharma from Lenovo. He's a senior solution architect, and his primary responsibility has been design data center solutions. He's an engineer by training and brings with him over 25 years of experience in data storage, data protection, and other such areas. And prior to Lenovo, he spent time in Sun Microsystems, Hitachi, Symantec, and others. Sanjay, over to you now as you take the viewers through the specific lines as far as what Lenovo's offerings are.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Gauri, and thank you for inviting me here. It's a pleasure to be on this platform and speaking. So I'm so just a minute. I hope my presentation is visible.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So good evening, everyone. And today I'm going to speak about how Lenovo can help customers in enriching their digital journey. And I have a couple of slides to go through. So this is the agenda what I have planned to go through this evening. We'll give you the overview about Lenovo and where the data economics is and what is the future of data economics we can anticipate, and overview about the different departments we have designed in such a way that we should be able to address all the marketplace where we see the data economics is pertaining to, and then what is the true scale offering from our side, and if time permits, we will have the Q&A. So we are committed to deliver innovation, which is providing benefit to human life, be it healthcare or automotive, education or engineering. So we are committed from an innovation standpoint, which touches the human life in every aspect of the verticals that we foresee, and seeing the technology incorporation, which is clearly visible in the industry. It's really, we feel proud to be ranked number 171 among Fortune 500 companies. And this is something which we are able to attain because we have a global technology partner on our side who is working very closely with us to create innovative technologies. And we have 180 offices across the globe. We have a global presence, 85,000 employees around the world, involved 15,000 involved in the R&D itself for bringing in the new innovation to the industry. And we have 18 different R&D locations which bring diversified talent to the pool for a better innovation. We have 33,000 plus, patents in our kitty at this point of time, and it is, obviously growing. Where the amount of data which we are currently seeing, and what is the places where we see the data is growing. So definitely, as we all are having a smartphone in everybody's hand, they're generating data, we are clicking pictures. So huge amount of data is at these the customer end or the user end, I would say, which has got the smart devices and the smart IoT. So there are smartphones, tablets, smart car which generates data, the camera, CCTV cameras, etc. So these are the places where we see a lot of amount of data is generated, and a huge market to address from a addressable standpoint. Then we have the second place, which is edge IT, like smart factories, cell phone towers, etc., which is collecting data from different edge components to create a meaningful insight for their better maintenance standpoint, I would say, or giving a better insight for the future growth as well. The third is the core IT, where the data resides, and where the data crunching has happened, where we processes the high performance computing, and also data center, whether it's on premise or on cloud. So those are the places. Now, Lenovo is divided into 4 groups to address this market. First, which is end user devices, we call it as IDG, which is Intelligent Data Device Group. And then Motorola, which very popular, is also part of the IDG group, but both of them combined together is known as IDG group. The second one is ISG, which addresses the edge devices and also the core data center services like servers, storage. So these groups, and they are encapsulated with services, because nothing is really smooth, seamless for a customer without services. So we have services which supports all these groups I already spoke about. So let's go deeper in the intelligent device group. Intelligent device group, I spoke about it, is a smart devices which has got ThinkPad, your cell phone, all these smart wearable devices, handheld devices. Those are covered in the smart devices part of it. IoT devices, as I mentioned, in let's say in the healthcare industry, those IoT devices are incorporated to bring better innovation, or help or extended help for those verticals. So like in a retail space or a healthcare space, or in the smart manufacturing industry space. Then we have a solution-based, scenario-based solutions, like smart speaker or a Bluetooth speaker, I would say, or all the smart wearable devices. All those things comes under the scenario-based solutions. It's all the security is prime. So we have a Think Shield, which is protecting all these devices in a consistent fashion. It gives me immense pleasure to say and recognize that we are number one in the PC and tablet market globally, and we are number one in the growth rate among the global. We have a lot of solutions in the brand, and we've been having more such reports coming up as well. We are motivated. We are bringing more innovations. We have innovation teams. The next group is the infrastructure solution group, from where actually I belongs from. That addresses the we have our comprehensive portfolio of servers that are reliable source of compute capabilities from the core to edge to the cloud. They are designed to meet today's workload needs and span through the next era of IT. They utilize the latest processors, memories, PCI slots. All those latest generation components are part of it, and then some of the portfolios are incorporated with GPUs as well. If there is a graphical processing, extensive graphical processing requirement is there. We do have edge devices in our portfolio. So this is the complete. Sorry, this is the complete IDG portfolio. We have storage also in the IDG portfolio, which manages. We have enterprise class storages, which addresses the SAN requirement or a NAS requirement, unified, hybrid, all kind of combinations are available with us. And then we have some joint engineered solutions also, which is hyperconverged, software-defined solutions are there, direct attach is there. In some of the cases in SMB space specifically, if customer is requiring a DAS kind of a solution, that is also something which we'll be able to cater. And then True Scale is our as a service offering, and then we do have joint engineered solution from a backup standpoint, which is in the industry leader from a enterprise backup solution. Those are the engineered solutions that we have. And we in the software defined space, we have wide variety of choices available for the customers, be it Microsoft hypervisor or a VMware hypervisor and Nutanix. Different combinations are available for us to offer to the customer. If a customer needs only the certified node, we do have certified nodes. And if customer need an integrated system, right from the Lenovo itself with the single point of responsibility, so we have certified solutions as well. All these portfolios are incomplete unless it is managed centrally. So we do have a management portfolio, Lenovo X Clarity. There's a chip which is incorporated in the motherboard itself, which helps manage customers centrally all the Lenovo landscape in the data center. And if customer Lenovo open cloud automation is the another tool which helps customer do the automation. If they have different portfolio and they want to bring the insight by automating different tasks. So Lenovo Open Cloud is the automation tool available for their ease. Lico, if you have a high-end AI services from Lenovo and servers from Lenovo, it helps you understand how the training model has to be designed. So Lico would extend those simplicity to the customer and make the customer life easier. Uptime and reliability, as that's really critical to efficient data centers and successful companies. Unplanned downtime generally, that generally takes the lot of business away from the customer. So we are number one from a reliability standpoint, and this is not something which we achieved in 1 year or 2 years. This is continuously for 8 years running, and currently we hold that position very proudly. As I mentioned, that these services are important part of the whole process. We do have dedicated services group, which is SSG, which helps you from end-to-end support standpoint. They do get into your services and understand the business flow and help you automate the process, help you provide services whenever it is required, and make your environment up and running for 24/7. Those are different, like support services, then managed services, and a project-based services also extended. All this portfolio, whatever I spoke about, is available under the umbrella of TrueScale as a service offering to the customer, whether it's infrastructure as a service or IoT device as a services, or software as a services, or software-defined services. Lenovo's success, we are proud to say that we have a huge amount of customers already in our portfolio, and we love to see this slide shrinking further. We are proudly and say that we've got the CIO Choice Award, and this is for the HCI and Edge portfolio. This is survey being conducted by the independent company and collecting feedback from CIOs of different verticals and segments, and finally they found out that we hold this position, and we are really proud to have this honor. Kidding. So with that, I will take a pause. That's all I have. And I will go back to Robbie.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that presentation, Sanjay, and I hope it's been useful for all those who are tuned in right now. And with that, we've come to an end to this masterclass session, IT4SMB, brought to you by Lenovo in partnership with the Economic Times, with the sole intent of ensuring that small and medium businesses are empowered with technology and the right technology tools for their next phase of growth. If India has to grow, then SMBs have to grow. And for that, they need technology and they need the right tech tools. And that was the intent behind this masterclass. Thank you so much for tuning in to hear the speakers, as well as the two masterclass speakers, as well as the Lenovo spokesperson as well. Thank you so much.